This is the story of something strange, something dark, something I still can't fully explain. It happened last October, just as the leaves were turning and the air had that first sharp bite of cold. I haven't told many people about this. Not because I'm afraid they won't believe me, but because I know they won't. But you seem like someone who'll listen. So here it goes. This is the true Starbucks horror story I've been carrying with me for almost a year. I was in a new city for work, Cleveland. Just a short trip. I'd arrived a day early and wanted to explore a bit. You know how it is. Get a feel for the place, find a cozy coffee shop, maybe read a bit, or catch up on emails. That's when I found it. A Starbucks. Nothing special, at least on the outside. It was tucked into a quiet corner of an old brick building downtown, almost hidden. The green sign was a little faded, the glass door scratched, and the window display had that dusty, forgotten look. But something about it pulled me in. It was late afternoon, maybe 4:30. The sun was dipping low, and the sky outside was smeared with orange and purple. When I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was the silence. No soft indie music, no steaming sounds from the espresso machine. Just silence. There was only one barista behind the counter, a tall guy with a blank expression and dark circles under his eyes. He looked up at me like he wasn't expecting anyone. Or maybe like he was, but not me. "Hey," I said, offering a little smile. "Just a tall latte, please." He didn't say anything, just nodded and turned around. I remember feeling a little uncomfortable right away, but I brushed it off. Maybe he was having a bad day. Or maybe he was just new. I found a seat near the window, one of those round tables with the wobbly leg, and waited. Then I noticed the smell. It wasn't coffee. It should have been coffee, right? That rich, bitter warmth that makes you feel at home the moment you walk in. But this, it was something else. Faint, like something decaying, but masked with sweet syrup. Like if you left milk out for too long and tried to cover it with caramel. I wrinkled my nose and looked around. The place was nearly empty. Just me, the barista, and a woman sitting way in the back, half hidden in shadow. She had her back to me, but her hair was bone white, long and straight. I couldn't see her face. When the barista brought my drink over, he set it down without a word and walked away. That's when I noticed the name on the cup. It wasn't mine. Now, I get it. Baristas get names wrong all the time. But this one didn't even sound close. It said, "Help me," in shaky, almost childlike handwriting. I laughed, nervously at first. I actually looked around, expecting maybe a hidden camera, like it was a prank or some weird viral thing. But no. The barista was gone, disappeared into the back, and the woman in the corner hadn't moved an inch. I stared at the cup. I eyed up, turned it in my hand. That's when I noticed something else. Beneath the sticker with the drink details, half peeled off, there was another word carved into the cup, scratched right into the plastic with something sharp. "Run." I stood up so fast I knocked my chair over. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the empty cafe. Still, the woman didn't move. I looked toward the counter, still no barista. I thought about just leaving right then and there, but something about it, I don't know. I wanted to know. Maybe I was being stupid. Maybe I was just tired. But I picked up the cup and walked toward the counter. "Hey," I called out, peeking behind the counter and into the back. No one. Just dim fluorescent lights, a hallway, and a door hanging slightly open. It was dead quiet. I stepped through the doorway. The hallway was narrow and weirdly cold. It led to a break room, small, with a metal table, 2 lockers, and an old fridge, humming in the corner. That's when I saw the journal, just sitting there on the table like someone left it for me. I opened it. The pages were filled with messy writing, scribbled thoughts, scared thoughts. Things like, "She comes at closing. I can't leave. Every time I try, I wake up back here. Don't talk to her. Don't look at her. She doesn't like when people know." The last page had a single line, written over and over again. "Help me. Help me. Help me." I dropped the journal. And that's when I heard it. A scraping sound, like something dragging across the floor. I turned and saw her, the woman from the corner. She was in the hallway now, closer than she should have been, still facing away. Her hair hung over her shoulders like curtains of ice. She didn't walk. She just glided. Slowly. Silently. I stepped back. My legs were weak. My breath felt stuck in my throat. Then she turned her head. Not all the way. Just enough that I saw her cheek, her mouth. Her skin looked like wax, like it had been melted and reset. Her lips didn't move, but I heard her voice, inside my head. "You saw too much. That was enough." I ran. I don't even remember pushing through the door or getting back to the street. Just cold air in my lungs and people staring at me as I stumbled into the light of early evening. The Starbucks behind me looked normal again. Lit. Busy. I turned back once. She was in the window, watching me. Just watching. I never went back. And when I told someone at the hotel about it the next morning, they gave me a strange look and said, "There was a Starbucks like that around here. But it closed down 3 years ago. Someone died in there. A barista. No one talks about it anymore." I checked the address later. It's not on the map. It doesn't exist. Not online, not anywhere. But I still have the cup. I keep it locked in a box, far away. The name has faded now, but if you tilt it just right, you can still see the scratch. Run, so, yeah. That's the story I've been carrying. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I lost my mind for an hour. Or maybe there's something else out there. Something that wears the skin of normal things, like your local coffee shop, and waits for people like me to step inside. All I know is, next time you're in a new town and you see a Starbucks that feels just a little off, trust your gut and don't stay for the coffee. This is the story of something I wish I could forget. I've tried to convince myself it was just a dream, or maybe a bad reaction to caffeine. But deep down, I know it wasn't. It happened 2 years ago. And ever since, I can't look at a Starbucks without feeling that cold knot tighten in my stomach. So listen carefully, because once I tell you this story, you might never look at a coffee shop the same way again. It started on a rainy Tuesday. I was on my way back from a job interview, tired, soaked, and in desperate need of something warm. I ducked into the first place I saw, a Starbucks tucked into a narrow side street, almost wedged between 2 old apartment buildings. There was something strange about it from the start. No customers, no baristas chatting. Just this soft, low, like the sound you hear when you plug in old electronics. The lights were on, but dimmer than usual, a little yellowish. Still, it was dry inside, and it smelled, at first, like coffee and cinnamon. Comforting. Familiar. So I shook off my umbrella, stepped up to the counter, and saw her. The girl behind the counter looked to be about my age, early 20s maybe. But there was something off about her. Her skin was pale, her lips colorless, and her eyes empty. Not tired, not bored. Just empty, like she was staring through me. I gave her a nervous smile. "Hey, can I get a tall chai latte?" She didn't respond right away, just stared at me. Then, without breaking eye contact, she said, in a voice that was too flat, too quiet, "We don't serve that here." I blinked. Okay, just regular coffee then?" No answer. She turned around slowly, almost like a puppet, and began preparing something. I wanted to walk out, I should have, but I felt frozen, like my legs wouldn't move. She came back with a cup and slid it across the counter. I looked down, expecting to see the usual Sharpie-scrawled name on the side. Instead, the cup just said, "I see you." I let out a nervous laugh, thinking it had to be some kind of joke. "Is this for Halloween or something?" She didn't smile, just looked at me and said, "Drink it before it gets cold." I don't know why I took the cup. I wasn't even thirsty anymore. But I carried it over to a corner table and sat down. The seat was cold, like it hadn't been used in a long time. I stared at the cup. My name wasn't anywhere on it. Just those 3 words, "I see you," written in thick black marker. And then something strange happened. The letters started to smudge. right before my eyes. They didn't smear like normal ink. They moved. They melted. Until the words shifted into something else. Don't turn around. I felt my blood go ice cold. You know that feeling when someone's watching you? It was like that, times 10. My back was to the rest of the cafe. I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't heard any footsteps. But I knew someone was standing behind me. I told myself not to look. I gripped the cup tight, trying to steady my breathing. But then I heard it, breathing, right next to my ear, slow, wet, uneven. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. I clenched my jaw, squeezed my eyes shut. But then, without meaning to, I turned my head, and I saw it. Not a person, not anymore. It was wearing a Starbucks apron, but its face was stretched, like old leather pulled too tight. Its eyes were too big and completely black. Its mouth hung open in a grin that never moved, showing small, sharp teeth, far too many for a human mouth. And then it spoke. Not out loud, not with a voice, but in my head. You drank from my cup. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. I ran for the door, not even thinking. I shoved it open, stumbled into the rain, and stopped. The street was gone. I swear to you, gone. The buildings, the cars, everything. Just darkness. The Starbucks door slammed shut behind me, and I was standing in a void. I turned back. The cafe was still there, lit from within, flickering like candlelight. And then I saw the girl again, inside, standing behind the counter. Only now her mouth was open wide, screaming silently. Her eyes were completely white, and she was pointing right at me. Then everything blinked. Just for a second, like someone shut the world off and turned it back on, and I was standing in the middle of the regular street again. Cars honking, people walking, rain falling. And the Starbucks? It was gone. Not closed, not boarded up, just gone. I spun in a full circle. I hadn't imagined it. I couldn't have. My clothes were soaked from the rain, but I was still holding the cup, the one that now had nothing written on it at all. I ran to the next cafe I saw, a real one this time. Bright, full of noise and warmth. I must have looked like a maniac. The barista asked if I was okay. I said I needed to use their phone. When I tried to call the number I'd used to get the interview earlier that day, it didn't exist. My call wouldn't even go through. That night, I barely slept. I kept the cup next to me on the nightstand, trying to tell myself it was just a weird glitch in my brain, a hallucination, something. But then, around 2 a.m., I heard the knock. 3 slow knocks. On my hotel door. I froze, didn't move, didn't breathe. Then came the whisper, sliding under the crack like smoke. I see you. I didn't sleep after that. When I checked out the next day, I asked the front desk clerk if there had ever been a Starbucks on that street. He frowned, thought for a moment, then said, "There was, years ago. But there was an accident. Fire, I think. Someone died. It's been gone since." I nodded, said nothing, and left the city that day. Since then, strange things keep happening. Every so often, I'll see someone in a Starbucks uniform standing just outside my apartment building, even when there's no Starbucks nearby. Once, I found a cup on my kitchen table with no idea how it got there. No name on it. Just a smear of ink where something had been written, and wiped away. I threw it out, of course, but I swear I heard the same whisper that night. So yeah, that's the story. Believe it or don't, but if you ever walk into a Starbucks that feels too quiet, too empty, or too wrong, do yourself a favor. Don't order anything. Don't sit down. And whatever you do, don't drink from the wrong cup. This is the story of something that still keeps me up at night. I wasn't someone who believed in ghosts or demons or cursed places. I used to laugh at people who told those kinds of stories. But what happened to me one December evening made me stop laughing. It made me start watching my back every time I walk past a coffee shop window, especially Starbucks. This is the true Starbucks horror story I'm going to tell you. I need you to listen, really listen. Because once it starts, it might not let you go. It happened during Christmas break. I had just finished my exams and gone home to visit my parents. They live in a quiet town. Not much to do but relax. I'd go on long walks in the evenings, just to clear my head. One night, I wandered further than usual, down a road I hadn't explored in years. That's when I saw it. A Starbucks, tucked between an old barber shop and a dusty antique store. I didn't remember it being there, and that was strange, because I grew up in that town. I knew every corner. But there it was, green logo glowing faintly, little wreaths in the windows, and a chalkboard outside that read, "Warm up with something unforgettable." I chuckled. Clever marketing, I thought. And it was cold, so I stepped in. Immediately, I felt wrong. The air inside was heavy, almost wet. The place was lit with dim yellow bulbs, and there were no Christmas songs playing, which was odd considering the season. Just this strange, low humming. Not music. More like something vibrating just beneath the floorboards. There were only two people in the cafe. A man sitting in the corner, facing the wall, and a barista at the counter. The man didn't move when I came in, didn't even flinch. The barista, well, she looked normal at first. Young, red hair in a ponytail, Starbucks apron. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. They were blank. Staring. "Evening," she said. Her voice was sweet, but flat, like someone reading from a script. "What can I get you?" Hot chocolate," I said, glancing at the weirdly quiet man in the corner. "With whipped cream?" "Of course," she said. "Just sit. I'll bring it to you." I nodded and sat at a table near the front window, away from the man and the humming. The table was dusty, like it hadn't been wiped in days. I took out my phone to scroll while I waited, but the screen stayed black. Dead. Which was strange, because I had at least 60% battery when I walked in. I tried turning it on again. Nothing. That's when I noticed the pictures on the wall. At first glance, they looked like normal framed photos. Customers smiling with drinks, staff posing with goofy grins. But as I looked closer, the smiles seemed too wide. The eyes were all wrong, too dark, too empty. In one photo, a woman was holding a frappuccino, her mouth open in laughter, but her teeth were sharp, not fake sharp. Real, needle sharp. I looked away just as the barista set my drink on the table. "Here you go," she said. "Hot chocolate, just the way you like it." I paused. "How did you know how I like it?" She tilted her head slightly. "You come here all the time." "No, I don't," I said, frowning. "This is my first time here." She smiled again, wider this time. Too wide. "Not really." She turned and walked back to the counter without another word. I looked down at the cup. My name wasn't on it, just a small message in shaky handwriting. "Don't drink. Watch the mirror." I stared at it for a moment, then glanced around. The only mirror in the place was near the bathroom, hanging above a sink in a little side hallway. My curiosity got the better of me. I stood up and walked over to it. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see myself. I mean, I did. But not the way I should have. My reflection was smiling, even though I wasn't. And behind my reflection, in the space where no one was actually standing, was the man from the corner table. Only now, he wasn't sitting. He was standing right behind me, eyes black and mouth stretched into a gaping, unnatural grin. I spun around. No one was there. The hallway was empty. I backed away, heart hammering in my chest, and returned to my seat. The cup of hot chocolate was still there, steam still rising. I picked it up and looked again at the message. "Don't drink. Watch the mirror." I looked at the barista. She was watching me now, not blinking, just watching. And then the man stood up. The one from the corner. He walked, glided, toward the back of the shop. Then stopped at a door marked, "Staff Only." He looked over his shoulder, and for the first time, I saw his face. It wasn't a face. It was a blank canvas of skin. No eyes, no nose. Just a mouth, stitched shut with thick black thread. He opened the door and disappeared behind it. Was frozen in my seat. Every instinct in my body told me to run, But I didn't. Not yet, because suddenly I heard voices, dozens of them, whispering, chanting, begging, all from behind that staff door. Let us out. She sees us. You're next. Don't drink it. The barista was still staring at me. I stood up slowly, heart pounding like a war drum. I need to go, I said quietly. Her smile widened again. But you haven't finished your drink. I backed toward the door. Every step felt like walking through mud. The moment my hand touched the handle, the humming stopped. Just silence. Heavy. Terrifying. I yanked the door open, and everything changed. I was back outside. Normal street. Normal noise. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was back on. I checked the map app, looked for the Starbucks. It wasn't there. The buildings on either side were still there, the barber shop, the antique store, but no coffee shop in between, just an empty brick wall. I walked up to it, touched the cold brick. Solid, real. I turned to leave, and that's when I saw it. The reflection. In the window of the barber shop, I saw myself, but I wasn't alone. The barista was standing behind me, still smiling, holding the cup of hot chocolate, and this time the message on it was different. See you soon. That was the last time I went looking for coffee in a strange place. Ever since, weird things happen whenever I walk into a Starbucks. Lights flicker, music cuts out, machines jam. Once, I got a drink with my name on it even though I gave a fake one. And once, someone behind the counter whispered, "Welcome back," even though I'd never seen them before. So yeah, that's the story. Believe it. Or don't. But the next time you walk into a Starbucks and the barista already knows your name, maybe don't drink what they give you, especially if you've never been there before. This is the story of something that happened to my cousin. At least, that's what I thought. But after what I experienced, I'm starting to wonder if his story is now mine too. It happened in early fall, September maybe. My cousin Jake had just moved to a small town for a new job, a quiet place in Oregon with tall pines, foggy mornings, and not a whole lot going on. He told me about it during a phone call, how peaceful everything was, how nice it felt to escape the noise of the city. But there was one thing he mentioned that didn't sit right. This Starbucks near my place, he said. It feels weird, I laughed. Weird like bad coffee? No, he said, real quiet. Weird like the place watches me. At the time, I thought he was just tired. He worked long hours and didn't know anyone in the town yet. Maybe he was just lonely. But a few weeks later, I got another call. This time, Jake sounded different. Nervous, paranoid. I made a mistake, he said. I went back in. I shouldn't have. Back in where? I asked. He was silent for a few seconds, then whispered, "The Starbucks. The one near the bridge." Then the line went dead. After that, I couldn't reach him. No texts, no calls, nothing. So I drove out there. I didn't tell anyone I was going. Just packed a bag and left. The town was just like he described, quiet, surrounded by woods, the kind of place where nothing big ever happens. I asked around, but no one seemed to know Jake. The address he gave me didn't lead to a real apartment, just an empty lot with some broken fencing and old construction signs, but I did find the Starbucks, and that's where this really starts. It was small, wedged at the edge of the town by an old bridge, right where the road curved into the trees. I walked in expecting to feel awkward or maybe like I was chasing a ghost, but the moment I stepped inside, I felt it, that watching feeling Jake had mentioned. The cafe looked normal. Green and brown walls, cozy chairs, a few people working on laptops. But everything was just a little off. Too quiet. Too still. It felt like the place was holding its breath. The girl behind the counter smiled at me. "First time here?" she asked. I hesitated. "I think my cousin came here, a guy named Jake." Her smile didn't change. "We get a lot of Jakes." She didn't say anything else. Just waited. I ordered a black coffee. No fancy names, no syrup, just something simple. She rang it up, gave me a blank cup, and told me to wait at the end of the counter. While I waited, I looked around. That's when I noticed something strange. On the wall, near the bathrooms, there was a corkboard. You know the kind. Community events, lost dogs, piano lessons. Only this one was different. There were no flyers, just photographs. Hundreds of them. Each one showed a customer holding a Starbucks cup and smiling. But not normal smiles. They were too wide, too forced. And in every single photo, the eyes of the person were wrong, glossy, hollow. Like they weren't really alive. I leaned in closer, and my breath caught. Jake was in one of the photos, right in the center. His eyes were dull, his smile twisted. He was holding a coffee cup with something scrawled on the side. "Help me!" I stumbled backward, heart racing. That's when the barista set down my drink. "Here you go," she said, still smiling. "Black coffee, just how you like it." I didn't remember telling her how I liked it. I grabbed the cup, walked quickly to the exit, and stepped outside into the fading light. But the parking lot was gone. The street was gone. Everything. Gone. In. Its place was a thick forest, stretching as far as I could see in all directions. The bridge behind the shop was still there, but it looked rotted, like it hadn't been used in years. The Starbucks stood alone, its green logo flickering like a dying firefly. I turned around, tried to go back inside, but the door was locked. I banged on it. No one answered. Then I looked down at the coffee cup. The writing on the side had changed. Now it read, "You took his place." I dropped it and ran toward the bridge, hoping maybe it would lead me back to the real world. As I stepped onto it, the wood groaned and cracked under my weight. Halfway across, I looked back. The Starbucks was gone. Not just dark or closed, completely vanished, like it had never existed. I made it across the bridge and found myself on a dirt road that led into town again. But everything was slightly wrong. The sky was a dull gray, even though it had been sunset just minutes earlier. People walked past me, but none of them made eye contact. Their faces were blank, empty, like they were sleepwalking. I found a motel and checked in for the night. I didn't say anything about what happened. I needed to think, to breathe. In the room, I looked up Jake's number again. This time, when I called it, someone answered, but it wasn't him. All I heard was static, and then, very faintly, a whisper. "You're next." That night, I dreamed of the Starbucks, but it was twisted. Walls stretching like rubber, cups filled with black sludge, customers sitting silently with their mouths sewn shut. I saw Jake, trapped behind the counter, banging on the glass, eyes wide with terror. I woke up, covered in sweat. The next morning, I went back to the bridge. There was nothing on the other side, just trees, no coffee shop, no barista, no corkboard. But when I looked at the dirt beneath the trees, I saw something buried, just barely visible. I dug with my hands and pulled it out. A coffee cup. Jake's name was on it, and beneath it, in smeared ink. He drank. "Now you must serve." I left that town. I never went back. But things haven't been the same since. Sometimes, when I'm in a Starbucks, any Starbucks, I'll catch my reflection in the window, and for a second, I swear, I'm not smiling, but my reflection is. Sometimes I find cups in my apartment that I know I didn't bring home. No name on them. Just writing. Time is almost up. I haven't had coffee in months. I don't sleep much either. Because in my dreams, the shop keeps calling me back, and every time it looks more and more real. So this is the story I'm telling you, believe it or not. Laugh it off if you want. But if you ever walk into a Starbucks and feel like someone's watching you, if you order your drink and the barista gives you a cup with no name on it, if you see a corkboard covered in photos where the people don't look quite right, don't drink it, because once you do, you can't ever leave. This is the story of something that happened to me last year, something I've never told anyone. But now, I think I have to. Not because I want to scare you, but because I think you should know what could happen. Because it all started in the most ordinary place you can think of, a Starbucks. Yeah, I know, it sounds stupid, but this is a true Starbucks horror story I'm about to tell you. And once you hear it, you'll never look at those green aprons the same way again. It was a rainy Tuesday night, and I was stuck at the train station. Delays, delays, delays. I'd been on my feet all day, soaked from the downpour, and I just needed somewhere warm to sit. That's when I saw the Starbucks across the street. One of those small ones, kind of tucked between two taller buildings like it didn't belong there. The sign was lit but flickering. I figured maybe it was new, or just old and run down. I went in without thinking twice. The bell above the door jingled. The place was warm and smelled like cinnamon and coffee beans. There were only 2 customers sitting in opposite corners, neither of them talking or looking up. The barista was cleaning the espresso machine behind the counter. He looked up as I walked in and gave me a nod. "Welcome in," he said. "You look like you need something strong." I gave a tired laugh and said, "Yeah, maybe just a tall, drip coffee. No frills." He nodded again and got to work. As I waited, I looked around. Something about the place felt off. It wasn't dirty or anything. It was clean, neat. But the decor was outdated. Like, weirdly outdated. There was a display of fall-themed drinks, but the drinks listed were things I'd never heard of. Stuff like Pumpkin Shadow Brew and Harvest Blood Mocha. I thought it was just a local twist. Then I noticed the prices. They were in cents, no dollars. Like, Shadow Brew, 85C. When was the last time anything cost less than $1 at Starbucks? Before I could think more about it, the barista handed me my cup. Plain white, no logo. Just my name, written perfectly, even though I never told him what it was. "Thanks," I said, confused. He just smiled. "First one's on the house." I sat near the window and took a sip. The coffee was strong. Stronger than any coffee I'd ever had. It didn't taste bad, just heavy, like it was pulling me down with each swallow. After a few minutes, I started feeling lightheaded. The lights seemed dimmer, the air thicker. Then I looked back at the cup. The words on it were changing. At first, my name was there, but it slowly faded, letter by letter, until the space was blank. Then, new words started to appear, written in black, shaky ink. "You're inside now." I blinked, rubbed my eyes. Maybe I was imagining it. But when I looked up, the customers in the corners were gone. Not just moved. Gone. I stood up and went to the counter. The barista was gone too. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. Then the lights went out, just for a second. But when they came back on, the entire store looked wrong. The menu boards were blank. The pastry case was filled with rotting bread and moldy cakes. The walls had deep, claw-like scratches. And the windows? They no longer looked out onto the street. Just darkness. Endless black space, like the shop was floating in nothing. I ran to the door, yanked it, locked, of course. Then I heard it. A scratching sound, from behind the counter, like nails dragging on wood. Then a low, wet voice. "You drank it. That means you stay." I turned and backed away. From behind the counter, something rose. Not the barista anymore. It looked like him, but stretched and wrong, with a face that drooped like melted wax, eyes wide and colorless, mouth full of sharp, jagged teeth. I didn't wait to scream. I just ran. Past the tables, past the chairs that now looked like bones tied together. I ran toward the hallway where the bathrooms were. I figured maybe there was a back exit. The hallway was longer than it should have been. Way longer. I kept running, walls closing in tighter, floor turning soft under my feet like I was running on skin. Finally, I found a door marked "Staff Only." I pushed it open and stumbled through. Inside was a break room, old, dusty, full of cobwebs. But there was something else, a mirror, huge, covering the whole wall. In it, I saw myself, but my reflection wasn't moving like me. It was smiling, waving, then it turned its head and pointed behind me. I turned slowly and saw them, all the customers who had vanished, the barista, dozens more, standing in the corners of the room, silent, watching. They started whispering, all at once. "You drank. You're part of it now. You stay. We go. I stumbled back, hitting the mirror, and then the reflection of me leaned forward and stepped out of the glass. It grabbed me by the arm, smiling that awful smile. But at the last second I did something stupid, something desperate. I threw the coffee cup. Not at the monster, not at the mirror, but at the light overhead. It shattered, and in that flash of darkness, something snapped. The voices screamed. The mirror cracked. I fell to the floor. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the sidewalk outside the shop. It was morning. The rain had stopped. People were walking past like nothing had happened. I looked back. The Starbucks was gone. Just an empty brick wall where it had been. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages, nothing. But when I opened my bag, that coffee cup was inside, still warm, still with my name scratched out, and beneath it, one new message, written in that same shaky black ink. One of us still waits. I haven't had coffee since. I don't go near Starbucks, not even to smell it. I avoid them all, because I don't know which one might be that one again. The one that moves, the one that lures people in, the one that changes its face, and I don't know if they'll let me go next time. So yeah, this is the story I had to tell you. You can laugh if you want. Forget it by morning. But if you ever walk into a Starbucks and your name is already on the cup, don't drink it. Please. Don't drink it.